Don Bosco, तुझे प्रणाम। ये Don Bosco, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम। आओ भक्तों महिमा गाओ, आदर्श पिता की पूरे लगन से। ये Don Bosco, तुझे प्रणाम, Don Bosco, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम। आओ भक्तों महिमा गाओ, आदर्श पिता की पूरे लगन से। हे Don Bosco, तुझे प्रणाम, हे Don Bosco, तुझे प्रणाम। बिछुड़े अनाथ को तूने देखा, तूने देखा, तूने देखा, प्यार से जीता। बिछुड़े अनाथ को तूने देखा, तूने देखा, तूने देखा, प्यार से जीता। वैसा हमें भी प्यार कर और राह दिखा, प्यार कर और राह दिखा, प्यार कर और राह दिखा। हे Don Bosco, तुझे प्रणाम, हे Don Bosco, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम, तुझे प्रणाम।
Don Bosco is perhaps the most amazing and fascinating saint history has ever produced. The humble work which he began for the welfare of his poor boys in Italy has produced astonishing results. Nearly 16,000 Salesians, with a whole host of members of the Salesian family, working in almost 131 countries. Salesians of Don Bosco are an international organization of men dedicated entirely for the service of young people, especially those who are poorer and disadvantaged. Today, the Salesians of Don Bosco are involved in a number of activities such as schools, colleges, youth centers, technical schools, parishes, social welfare centers, orphanages, street children centers, rural empowerment centers, women development activities, and so on, reaching out to thousands and thousands of young people all over the world. Don Bosco's followers arrived in India in the year 1906. And today, there are nearly 11 geographical jurisdictions of Salesian works in almost all the states of India, with nearly 2,750 Salesians working in 575 institutions. Don Bosco is much loved in India, and he is truly a magical word who has transformed the lives of millions and millions of young people in the subcontinent. How could this semi-orphan peasant boy from such a poor background give rise to such great works that are benefiting the whole of humanity? How was it possible? There was definitely some extraordinary divine grace that assisted this person. There was something innate in him, a splendid charism that blossomed and began to spread its fragrance. He was no doubt a magnetic personality, an irresistible force who could permeate the heart of every person he met. Think of any good quality, and you will see it personified in him. Don Bosco was no doubt a compendium of virtues, skills, talents, and divine grace. A feel of this stupendous saint with his magnificent qualities is the best way to understand him. He was a man of God who could truly offer God's love, mercy, and strength. He knew how to cherish that union with God despite his hectic work and maintain his closeness with God. Don Bosco was a zealous apostle who endlessly grabbed every opportunity to win souls for God. No matter where he was, his only yearning was, "Give me souls, take away the rest." Don Bosco was a great mystic and contemplative, drawing strength from the one who was his sole inspiration. He was a miracle worker. Our Lady, Mary Help of Christians, manifested her special benevolence in all the works of Don Bosco, and she did everything for him. Every miracle of Don Bosco had the Blessed Mother's stamp on it. He was a hard worker who toiled endlessly with selfless activity, dedicating himself totally for the mission. This friend of the youth was also a wonderful musician who could sing, feel, teach music, and make it a means of praising God. His band was very much appreciated by people from all walks of life. He was a juggler and a magician who knew how to attract the young people and lead them to God. He was a good sportsman, an athlete beyond compare, who valued sports as an essential element of his educative system. Don Bosco was a prolific writer, a journalist who knew how to write and efficiently communicate his ideas, fight heresies, and promote good values through good literature. He was a wonderful preacher and an inspiring speaker too, who knew the power of communication, and people thronged to listen to him because they could feel the presence of God in every word he uttered. He was a diplomat and statesman who knew how to be cordial with all government officials and bureaucracy and make himself convincing and credible. Being a master counselor, he knew how to counsel and console, guide and direct everyone in the path of holiness and truth. He was a loving person, a winner of the hearts of thousands of young people. Every young boy who came across him felt that he was individually loved and cared for by him. He was a pedagogue, a master educationist who through his preventive system of reason, religion, and loving kindness could make his system of education very humane, spiritual, scientific, and integral. He was a psychologist who knew how to understand the minds and hearts of young people and what their requirements were. He was a dramatist who knew how to popularize theater and art to form young minds and communicate God's message. He was a multifaceted personality, a carpenter, a cobbler, a tailor, a printer, a man who had mastered all forms of trades with humility. He plunged himself into tireless activity of teaching, instructing, and forming young minds to apprehend a trade that would fetch them a career. He was a social worker who knew how to make his boys contribute to the society in times of need, be it sickness, plague, or poverty. He defended and fought for the rights of his boys in all the places they worked and in all the situations they were placed. He was a man of poverty, a person who was born poor, lived poor, and died poor. His simplicity, frugal living, and love for the poor can never be forgotten. He was a very optimistic person who was never bogged down by any number of difficulties. His trust in divine providence made him manifest that he was not going to lose heart in any trying situation. He was very good at generating resources, be it for a new basilica, or getting a new building built, or paying some debts. He knew how to ask, how to beg, and how to win people to help him. Such was the power of this stupendous hero who could make himself so appealing, so spiritual, so credible, and yet so simple, human, and real in his approach. A simple seed that sprouted in a humble way in a small hamlet in Italy has today outreached its branches far and wide in 131 countries. Don Bosco is no doubt a magical word that has changed the face of humanity and that of the society. The Salesian spirit instilled by Don Bosco is very much present in every aspect of life, be it education, formation, empowerment, evangelization, sport, or media. Don Bosco and his spirit will continue to touch and transform humanity.
डॉन बॉस्को कल था आज भी है और अनंत काल तक रहेगा। चारों दिशा उसका नाम प्रकृति के हर अंग में फैलते रहेगा। दुनिया के कोने कोने में चारों दिशा उसका नाम प्रकृति के हर अंग में फैलते रहेगा। दुनिया के कोने कोने में, दुनिया के कोने कोने में। बॉस्को ने मुझे प्यार किया, प्यार करते हैं। बॉस्को ने मुझे प्यार किया, प्यार करते हैं और हमेशा वो तो मुझे प्यार करते रहेंगे। डॉन बॉस्को कल था आज भी है और अनंत काल तक रहेगा। चारों दिशा उसका नाम प्रकृति के
passionate like Don Bosco. Starting afresh from Don Bosco. Becoming passionate like Don Bosco. Falling in love with Don Bosco. And tuning oneself to be another Don Bosco. That's a call and a challenge. Can we imitate the heart of Don Bosco? What does becoming Don Bosco mean? Becoming a loving father and brother. Becoming a man of holiness and prayer. Becoming a true and understanding friend. Becoming an evangelizer of the young. Becoming a contemplative in action. Becoming positive, optimistic, and inspiring. Becoming hardworking and persevering. Becoming passionate about our mission. Becoming dynamic and creative. Becoming credible and relevant. Becoming courageous and determined in hard times. Becoming a good teacher and leader. Becoming attentive to the signs of the times. Touching the hearts of the young. Making the young feel they are loved. Making them feel at home. And always seeking the will of God. Knowing Don Bosco is getting to love him more and more. Getting passionately in love with Don Bosco is becoming inflamed with his passion. Can Don Bosco count on us? Can we be another Don Bosco?
महिमा डॉन बॉस्को की, आओ हम गावे महिमा डॉन बॉस्को की। प्यार उमंग से भर दिलों से, प्यार उमंग से भर दिलों से, उनके महान कार्यों का बखान करें, उनके महान कार्यों का बखान करें। आओ हम गावे महिमा डॉन बॉस्को की, आओ हम गावे महिमा डॉन बॉस्को की।
प्यार उमंग से भरे दिलों से, प्यार उमंग से भरे दिलों से, उनके महान कार्यों का बखान करें, उनके महान कार्यों का बखान करें।
हम सब मिलकर एक तन से गावेंगे, स्वर लहरों की मीठी आवाज से भर देंगे सारा पृथ्वी आसमान। हम सब मिलकर एक तन से गावेंगे स्वर लहरों की मीठी आवाज से भर देंगे सारा पृथ्वी आसमान। आओ हम गावे महिमा डॉन बॉस्को की, आओ हम गावे महिमा डॉन बॉस्को की। प्यार उमंग से भर दिलों से, प्यार उमंग से भर दिलों से उनके महान कार्यों का बखान करें, उनके महान कार्यों का बखान